Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Cooney.
Present.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Here.
Commissioner Griffin.
Here.
Commissioner Urban. Vice Mayor Knott. Mayor Hopewell.
So move.
Support.
Aye.
If there are those present who do not acknowledge a higher power, I humbly ask your forbearance for the next few minutes with those of us who do. O God, our Creator, Parent, by whatever name you are known, we come to you tonight and ask for caring, wisdom, and insight as we go about the conduct of the business of this city. As we conduct that business, we would ask you to help us keep in mind all of your children who are affected, and not just particular groups. We would ask that you help us to consider the long-term impact of the decisions that we make. We ask that you help us consider that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to cope with it. We ask you to help us consider that compromise may mean that everyone is equally unhappy. In all that we do, we ask that you would help us to consider the impact on the environment and help us remember that damage to the planet on which we live cannot be limited to particular areas or peoples, but will affect us all. Finally, we ask that you would free us from the sin of pride if we believe that any of us can do alone what it will take all of us working together to do. We ask that God bless us and keep us, that God make God's face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us, that God lift up the light of God's countenance upon us and grant us peace now and forevermore. Amen.
Whereas Summer Learning Day is a time to reflect on the importance of keeping youth learning, safe and healthy every summer, ensuring they return to a school in the fall ready to succeed in the year ahead. And whereas summer learning loss is a significant contributor to the achievement gap, a gap which remains constant during the 9 months of the school year but widens during the summer months. And whereas summer learning programs are proven to maintain and advance students' academic and social emotional growth, keep children safe and healthy during the summer, and send young people back to school ready to learn. Additionally, summer youth employment programs engage older youth in meaningful activities that allow them to explore careers of interest, take on new responsibilities, contribute to their community, and earn money for the future. And whereas a wide array of public agencies, community-based organizations, schools, libraries, museums, recreation centers, camps, and businesses in our community contribute to the well-being of youth through summer programming. And whereas summer learning is a critical component of our collective effort to ensure all students graduate from high school prepared for college, careers, and life. Now therefore, on behalf of the 52nd City Commission and Mayor Bobby Hopewell of the City of Kalamazoo, we do hereby proclaim July 11th, 2019 as Summer Learning Day in Kalamazoo and encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of this initiative on the youth in our community.
On behalf of the Kalamazoo Youth Development Network and the 52 organizations that serve City of Kalamazoo youth during the summer, there are approximately 4,000 City of Kalamazoo youth who will be participating in high-quality summer learning opportunities. We thank you for this proclamation. We thank you for your ongoing support of the out-of-school time sector and invite you to join us July 11th right across the street at Bronson Park. There'll be 500 young people from those 52 organizations. Lots of food, games. We'll have your proclamation and other proclamations. There'll be youth performances and youth speakers. So thank you again for your ongoing support, and we hope to see you July 11th. Thank you.
Yeah, Your Honor, I'd like to ask that items F3 and J1 be removed from tonight's agenda. None, Your Honor. We have the following items presented for approval this evening. First, the approval of a contract with Tetra Incorporated, who is a pre-qualified firm for a phosphate upgrades project in the amount of $971,500. Next is the approval of a contract with PayJ Incorporated for the 30th Street Water Main Project in the amount of $920,180. Next is the approval of a contract with Consumers Energy for installation of a generator at 4216 Lakeside Drive for the Whites Lake Sanitary Station in the amount of $104,602.70. Next is the approval of a contract with Consumers Energy for installation of a generator at 2830 Oakland Drive for the Woods Lake Sanitary Lift Station in the amount of $127,479.26. Next is the first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 20B addressing commercial medical marijuana facilities so as to reflect recent changes in state law and regulatory rules governing those facilities and extend the term of provisional certificates issued by the city. Next is the adoption of a resolution designating financial institutions as approved depositories for the city and authorizing the positions of Management Services Director / CFO, the City Treasurer, and the Assistant City Treasurer to execute and sign agreements to procure various cash management services of financial institutions and to provide specific operational and procedural information to such institutions as may be required. Next is the adoption of a resolution to enter into an interlocal agreement with Michigan Cooperative Liquid Asset Security System, otherwise known as CLASS. And finally, adoption of a resolution to approve a brownfield plan redevelopment and purchase agreement for the approximate southerly 6-acre portion of Davis Creek Business Park to Davis Creek Land Development Company, LLC.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Cooney, supported by Commissioner Urban. Excuse me, Corlin, please call the roll. I'm sorry, not Urban, Cunningham. Good grief. It's hot.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Knott. Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Item G1, adoption of an ordinance authorizing the issuance of Water Supply System Junior Lien Revenue Bonds Series 2019B for an amount not to exceed $1,730,000 and adoption of a notice of sale resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Are there any citizens who would like to comment on this item? If so, please come to the podium, state your name and whether or not you live in the city. You will have 4 minutes. Seeing no one, Commissioners, the recommended action is to adopt the ordinance. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Anderson, supported by Commissioner Cooney. Is there any discussion? Back to the item. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Clerk Borland, please call the roll.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Knott.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next are reports and legislation. City Manager Ritzma, do you have a report?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
City Attorney?
Just a reminder, this is in the days leading up to the Independence Day holiday, and the city did adopt an ordinance regulating fireworks. It began Saturday, and it will continue through next Friday, July 5th. People are permitted to ignite and use fireworks from 11 o'clock in the morning until 11:45 at night. After that, it is, if you operate or use those type of explosives or fireworks outside of those hours, it is a $1,000 fine.
Thank you. Clerk Borland, do you have a report?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioners, attached in the agenda packet was a written proposal from Chris Wamhoff regarding designated camping areas for persons experiencing homelessness. I just wanted to point that out. It is in the agenda packet.
Thank you, Clerk Borland. We are now at citizen comments. Are there any citizens who would like to come before us and make a comment? If so, please state your name and whether or not you live in the city. You will have 4 minutes to make your comments. Good evening.
Good evening. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Nelly Fuentes. Estamos aquí esta tarde para presentar la resolución a favor de las licencias de manejo para todos los residentes de Michigan, sin importar su estatus legal. Esta resolución ha sido escrita por la comunidad inmigrante indocumentada de Kalamazoo y exigimos a nuestra ciudad de Kalamazoo que apoye nuestra lucha por nuestras licencias y pasen esta resolución en español y en inglés, haciéndola así la primera resolución bilingüe de la ciudad. Yo no he venido aquí a explicar nuestro poder económico y laboral. Tampoco he venido a decirles que sin labor inmigrante, la ciudad de Kalamazoo, el condado de Kalamazoo y de hecho todo el estado de Michigan dejaría de funcionar. Y mucho menos he venido a decirles las historias aterradoras que sufre nuestra comunidad día con día por no tener licencia. Lo que hemos venido a decirles es que la comunidad indocumentada de Kalamazoo se está organizando para no ser invisibles nunca más. Hemos venido a decirles que somos más que un signo de dólares para esta sociedad. Somos más que carreteras seguras. Somos más que ingresos monetarios para el Estado. Queremos que se nos reconozca con dignidad y respeto como personas que residimos en esta ciudad y por eso estamos exigiendo que nuestra resolución sea puesta en la agenda de la Junta del 15 de julio de este año, que se ponga a votación y que ustedes, comisionados, pasen la primera resolución bilingüe en la ciudad de Kalamazoo en apoyo de nuestras licencias. Good evening. My name is Nelly Fuentes, and I live in Kalamazoo. We are here this evening to present a resolution in favor of driver's licenses for all Michigan residents, regardless of their legal status. This is a special resolution. It has been written by the undocumented immigrant community of Kalamazoo. We are here demanding our city of Kalamazoo to support our fight for our well-deserved licenses by passing this resolution in Spanish and English, making it the very first bilingual resolution in the city. Honestly, I did not come here to explain our economic labor and power, nor have I come to tell you that without immigrant labor, the city of Kalamazoo, the county of Kalamazoo, and in fact, the entire state of Michigan, would cease to function. Neither have I come to tell you the terrifying stories that our community suffers daily for not having a license. We have come here to tell you that the undocumented community of Kalamazoo is organizing. so as to not be invisible anymore. We have come to tell you that we are more than a dollar sign for this society. We are more than given driver's licenses because of safer roads. We are much more than economic income for this state. We want to be recognized with dignity and respect as people who live in this city, and for that reason, we are demanding that our resolution be placed on the agenda for the meeting of July 15th, 2019, that it be put to a vote that day, and that you, City Commission, pass the very first bilingual resolution of the City of Kalamazoo in support of our licenses. Next, you will hear our resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening to you all. Buenas tardes a todos. My name is Matilde Ramírez and I live in Kalamazoo County. Mi nombre es Matilde Ramírez y vivo en la ciudad de Kalamazoo. Resolución en apoyo a la restauración de las licencias de conducir. La Comisión de la Ciudad de Kalamazoo reconoce lo siguiente, recordando que Michigan extendió el derecho universal a la licencia de conducir a todos los residentes de Michigan que eran capaces de pasar un examen práctico de manejo y de conocimiento en este estado hasta el 2008. Y luego lo revocó este derecho a todos los michiganders que no pudieron presentar pruebas de presencia legal por barreras legales de inmigración, considerando que las leyes de inmigración actuales excluyen sistemáticamente a muchos miembros de nuestra comunidad inmigrante a obtener un estatus legal permanente y por lo tanto no pueden obtener una licencia de manejar en el estado de Michigan desde el 2008. Mientras que los inmigrantes sin licencia de conducir viven una calidad de vida deficiente, lo que afecta su capacidad para cuidarse de sí mismos y sus familias, participar plenamente en la comunidad a la que llaman hogar. Mientras que como sociedad damos la bienvenida a trabajadores inmigrantes para que planten nuestras flores, cosechen y sirvan nuestra comida, construyan y mantengan nuestras casas, cuiden a nuestros seres queridos, nuestros jardines, nuestras propiedades y sirvan de muchas otras maneras. Sin embargo, nosotros como sociedad no los invitamos a que participen de igual forma en nuestra comunidad. Por el contrario, como sociedad los mantenemos hipócrita e injustamente como clase baja, separando a sus familias y negándoles derechos humanos básicos.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Valentin Bello. I live on 1604 Cambridge Drive, Kalamazoo, Michigan. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Valentín Bello, vivo en 1604 Cambridge Drive, Kalamazoo, Michigan. Mientras que los inmigrantes que no pueden obtener una licencia de conducir siguen siendo amenazados, atacados y aterrorizados por la administración federal y mientras que los inmigrantes indocumentados tienen las mismas esperanzas, temores y sueños que todos los demás miembros de nuestra comunidad, reconocemos su humanidad y los apoyamos en su lucha por la protección permanente, la dignidad y el respeto. Y mientras que en los últimos años se han aprobado nuevas leyes que ahora ofrecen una licencia de conducir a los inmigrantes que residen en California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Nevada, Nuevo México, Nueva York, Puerto Rico, Utah, Vermont, Estado de Washington y Washington, D.C. Ahora, por lo tanto, se resuelve que la ciudad de Kalamazoo le exige al Estado de Michigan que respalde la restauración de los derechos de conducir a los michiganders del Estado que no pueden proporcionar una prueba de presencia legal en el país, mediante la emisión de una licencia de conducir. Thank you. Gracias.
Good evening.
Hi, my name's Abby McLean, and I live in the county. I'm here with Move Me Into Cosecha, Kalamazoo, to read the English translation of the resolution. Resolution in support of restoration of a driver's license. Whereas the Kalamazoo City Commission takes notice of and acknowledge the following. Whereas Michigan extended a universal right to a driver's license to all Michigan residents who are capable and qualified to pass a knowledge and practical driving test in the state until 2008, when the rights of some Michiganders who were unable to provide proof of legal presence were revoked based on legal immigration barriers. Whereas current immigration law systematically excludes many members of our immigrant community from a path to permanent status and therefore are unable to obtain a driver's license since 2008. Whereas immigrants without a driver's license experience a diminished quality of life, affecting their ability to take care of themselves and their families and fully participate in the community they call home. And whereas we, as a society, welcome immigrant labor to grow our flowers, harvest and serve our food, build and maintain our houses, care for our loved ones, landscape our properties, and serve us in a myriad other ways. However, we as a society do not invite them to participate equally in our community. Rather, we as a society hypocritically and unjustly maintain them as underclass, separating their families and denying them basic human rights. And
Good evening.
Hello, my name is Victoria Marcetti and I reside in the city of Kalamazoo. I will finish translating as well. And whereas immigrants who are prevented access to a driver's license continue to be threatened, targeted, and terrorized by the federal administration, and whereas undocumented immigrants have the same hopes, fears, and dreams as every other member of our community, we acknowledge their humanity and support them in their struggle for permanent protection, dignity, and respect. And whereas in recent years, new laws have passed that now offer a driver's license to immigrants residing in California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Nevada, New Mexico, New York, Puerto Rico, Utah, Vermont, Washington State, and Washington, D.C. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Kalamazoo calls on the State of Michigan to support the restoration of driving rights of Michiganders in communities across the state who are unable to provide proof of legal presence in the country by way of issuing a driver's license. I stand to speak with you tonight in solidarity with my friends and neighbors who live every day in fear of being ripped from the arms of their loved ones and banished to countries destabilized and ravaged by U.S. foreign policy and intervention. Many of us are rightfully horrified and outraged by the treatment of migrants at the border and the family separations we've witnessed from afar. What we fail to recognize is that family separations are happening right here in our community, and they are no less horrifying and traumatizing than what we see in the news. One of the main mechanisms used in picking up, detaining, and deporting folks is through the state of Michigan denying driver's licenses for our most vulnerable community members. For the security and safety of our community, we must support the return of access to driver's licenses. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Lisbeth Fuentes and I live in Kalamazoo. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Lisbeth Fuentes y vivo en Kalamazoo. Y estoy aquí para decir que, en nombre de las personas que viven en Kalamazoo, estamos aquí para exigir que esta resolución sea puesta en la agenda, que sea puesta a votación y que sea aprobada en su próxima reunión, que será el lunes 15 de julio del 2009. La gente de Kalamazoo exigimos que ustedes políticos tomen acción. La gente de Kalamazoo ya no podemos vivir con miedo, ya no podemos vivir ni manejar con miedo. I am here to tell you that on behalf of the people residing in Kalamazoo, we are here to demand for this resolution to be put on the agenda, voted on, and you have to get it passed at your next meeting, Monday, July 15th, 2019. The people in Kalamazoo are demanding for you politicians to take action. The people in Kalamazoo can no longer live and drive with fear. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Andy Argo. I reside in the Vine neighborhood. I'm here to kind of speak briefly in support of the resolution to support the restoration of driver's licenses to our undocumented friends and neighbors. I think I just wanted to kind of speak just my own personal experience. I grew up in the Edison neighborhood, which is our most predominantly Latinx neighborhood, and where a lot of these folks who are affected by these policies live. And I just kind of wanted to frame this resolution around the idea that, you know, while this is a statewide issue, it really, really affects people right here down in the neighborhoods. You know, I remember just specifically in the last couple of years, while I moved out of the Edison about 8 years ago, I still go down there occasionally, talk to old friends, and there's been this pervasive anxiety that's been intensified in particular since you know, the Trump administration came into power. And what I think is fundamentally important about resolutions like this, it's not going to change the state policy in the day, and it's certainly not going to keep ICE from trying to kidnap our people. But what it does do is it shows to that community in a very concrete and tangible way, we here in the city administration, we stand with you, we will protect you. You are citizens of Kalamazoo. You know, it's a fairly easy thing to do, to propose and pass a resolution, whereas a lot of the people here are on the ground fighting this battle day in and day out. And I think a few of you up there on the dais have helped out or participated in that work. And I just really wanted to bring home, one, why this is so important, and two, why it is important for us as a city to express this to the undocumented citizens of Kalamazoo. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Emily Demarest. I live in the city of Kalamazoo. I think I've taken this little document for granted probably every single day since the day I got it. When I was in school, the school still paid for driver's training, so I essentially had to do nothing. I was a pretty naughty teenager. I think I was a little hungover my first day of driver's training, if I'm to be honest. So I have done nothing to deserve this little piece of paper, more than anyone else sitting in this audience. It is a very simple thing. It's within legal guidelines. It follows the precedent of multiple other states around the country who've passed this. This isn't asking us to look at something that's happening in another country or in any abstract way. It is a very concrete proposal for a very concrete plan that we are building statewide to push municipalities across the state to adopt these changes. Unless you've been living under a rock, I know that we've all seen the videos and the pictures of conditions within detention centers, several of which exist here in Michigan. Battle Creek is our closest detention center. They're building one in Baldwin. There's one in Chicago. So unless we take action, our families will go to these places.
Hello, Commissioners. Good evening. My name is Toni Nelson. I live in the Hillcrest neighborhood. I'm here for a number of reasons. First and foremost, to say I think that passing a resolution would be really important for me and for people I love, and in a couple of different ways. I think that it's already been mentioned, a lot of the benefits that it would give to Michigan residents. I think even taking a really cynical view, just having people not have basic documents proving that they passed certain tests is a huge benefit to the state of Michigan. But I just want to make another point. Getting pulled over by the police is terrifying. I get terrified, and I'm a white male, and with a number of family members that are police officers, and I'm terrified. to think about being separated from my family for not having a driver's license is just absolutely unimaginable for many people. And I think that to just let that sink in a bit, but to also think about like, well, who really benefits from whole communities not having this state ID? And I really can come up with really one good answer, and that would be those who exploit people's labor. People who exploit workers' labor and that benefit from them being constantly scared means that you can pay them really low wages because they are afraid to come to work, and then if they don't, they can hire somebody else. That's really the only group that I can see can benefit from that. And then you have a whole group of people that would benefit from everybody having licenses, but they're either ignorant or just explicitly racist. So I asked the city of Kalamazoo to not pander to either of those groups and to support a resolution that is based in human dignity, as well as like a very cynical takeaway of just saying like, everybody's safer. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, my name is David Benak. I live here in the city of Kalamazoo. Thank you for giving us a chance to talk today. When the national media covers the next instance of children being gunned down in the school, it's easy for us to talk about gun control. When the media covers the next big story about women being harassed and abused, it's easy for us to talk about Me Too. When the next big national coverage comes out about a black man being gunned down in the street by the police, it's easy for us to talk about Black Lives Matter. When we see the coverage of concentration camps in the United States along our southern border, it's easy for us to talk about immigrant rights. What I'm asking for you to do today is something that I was inspired to do by one of the young men in the audience here. His birthday is today. And what he asked for his birthday was people who really cared to actually show up and try to make this happen. So what I'm asking is that we stop talking about immigrant rights, and I'm asking you to please put this resolution on your agenda for the next meeting, and I'm asking you to please vote in favor of passing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, Chris Wemhoff, 1407 Bryant Street, Edison neighborhood. When I first say, I know I can't look back at them, but my bad's Cosecha. I wouldn't have tried to write anything in tonight if I would have known y'all were coming. And for the next, the reason that Mr. Borling read that was because I wrote a request for the City Commission to hear about the housing. And if you guys want to submit something before Wednesday, they will do the same thing, and the City Commission would have the option to skip it or not. So even if they decide to not take it up, at least it's in front of their face. I got a lot of thoughts that go way beyond just the license when we're talking about the license. And it blurs lines between ethnicities, honestly. The two predominant ones that I can think of. And and I'm just going from my heart. Every single kid that I know within 2 blocks in my neighborhood where I've been for a very long time and where I know a lot of kids, 100%, not a single one of them, have never been walking home and had a cop come up and mess with them. Every single one of them have had that happen to them. And every one of them, whether some of them have turned out to be managers and some of them have turned out to do other things, but every one of them have had that issue. And none of them have a license right now because they're still trying to catch up with the things that they got when they were high schoolers. So I hope that Cosecha brings this up, and I hope that you guys pass it, and I hope that it's a step, because we need to take a step for a lot of bigger problems about what's happening to the kids. And I don't know how bad in the other neighborhoods, but I personally know the ones in Edison. And this city has 100% failed all across the board for all of them. And I include the promise in that. Because the ones I'm talking about aren't the white kids that get to keep going. They're the ones that get locked up and get knocked out of it because they miss school. And this is a step to remedy what we have put on those kids. What we, by our rules and regulations, have put on them. There is a responsibility of this city to fix what it has done in this. It's not just about national. It's about right here, what we have chose to done and how we have chose to treat them really leading up to this moment. So, the homeless stuff I'll come back about because I didn't know this was happening tonight and I don't want to step on other people with that. But I did that for a step of liability, not because I thought the city commission was going to take it up. Look at the mission and see how many people they're turning away and see where your capacities are at. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Sam Demarest. I live in the Oakwood neighborhood. The immigration enforcement system has long been arbitrary, capricious, and cruel, but we've seen recently an increased weaponization of it to serve the purposes of white supremacy and white nationalism. Kalamazoo has already passed a non-cooperation agreement with ICE, and this commission has put their money where their mouth is and turned down grant funding because it would require cooperation with ICE. It is incumbent upon decent people to frustrate the ICE mission of detaining people and separating people and terrorizing people for the purposes of white supremacy and white nationalism. And as far as this goes, we can use this opportunity to lobby a sympathetic Secretary of State as a larger municipality to give people a document that can prevent them from being asked other difficult questions, questions that might lead to their immigration status being divulged in a routine stop. If we can prevent people from being stopped and interrogated for relatively minor offenses, doing things that people do every day, driving somewhere, we'll all be safer and better off for it, and we can protect our neighbors from what is happening right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Different subject. My name is Judy Huxman, and I live in the Oakwood neighborhood. And I'm here to remind you about Asylum Lake Preserve. A week ago, Thursday, we had a disaster happen over there with the flooding. And it was sickening to watch the unprotected mountains of soil flood down Drake Road into the waterway, into the preserve. I spoke with Bob Miller, and he assured me that the construction company that they've been using, this is the first time anything like this has happened. Well, it just takes once. And we're waiting on the results from the testing that's being done to find out if any toxins were released into the water, into the preserve. We know that turbidity happens when soil is dumped into a waterway like that, and it can cover up springs and totally kill the lake. Granted, this happened on western site, and it was in Ashtamo Township, but it went into the public preserve that is owned by Western Michigan University and managed through funds from the Kalamazoo Foundation. It's a public preserve. I'm here to remind you of this because we went through the exercises of creating the Natural Features Protection Overlay Ordinance to protect this place. We were asking for, begging for stronger protections for preserves, which are combinations of parts that are being protected under the features. The Planning Commission chose not to go that far. our big concern right now, that was our second worst nightmare that happened a week ago Thursday. Our first worst nightmare is coming up with the possible development of the property that's on the northwest corner of the preserve, the property that Mr. Tirani purchased and wants to develop. If you could for a moment imagine the same scenario with the every vegetative thing pulled up from the ground and all that loose dirt there waiting to be moved where it was going to be put, and us having another 4-inch rain within 8 hours. That would be incredibly disastrous to the lake and to the preserve. So we are continuing to ask that stronger protections be considered, be implemented, and discourage the current owner from that property of developing it at all, or at least minimally, because this is a public preserve. It's a place where people go to clear their heads. It's where animals live. It's where birds migrate. And it needs our help. It needs our help. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Oropesa. I'm here from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I was brought here as a migrant worker in Van Buren County many, many years ago. We settled here in 1985. And as a migrant worker, I can tell you that I'm very surprised that Michigan is not on this list. The reason why is because Michigan is the second leader in the nation of migrant workers. The second in the nation, from fruits, from vegetables, hard labor, the second in the nation. Michigan migrant workers bring millions, billions of dollars to the cities and to the state economy in Michigan. Now, with that being said, can you imagine how many migrant workers from California to Texas, from Mexico, from all over, they settle for migrant workers from May to late October, make companies, farm workers grow billions of dollars. Quarter of them, this is just assuming, quarter of them might not even have driver's license. Michigan's driver's license. It's a blessing to have a valid driver's license. And as a community leader, I've worked and got involved in the last years and in the near future with some of you up there, Mr. Anderson, Cooney, Patrice. We need to realize and open our eyes with these lies that we hear all the time on social media. This is reality. This is our city. This is Kalamazoo. Every intersection around here, and everybody here and everyone in the panel can agree with me. Every corner of this downtown area is being under construction. Is going to be better off down the road another year or two with business growing in our Kalamazoo, okay? But the thing is, a lot of companies, a lot of businesses, regardless if they're union or non-union, they're having issues because they can't find individuals that's all they need. So the union workers and non-union workers all around these cities, you guys see in all these buildings or whatnot, which is beautiful for us in Kalamazoo. But the thing is, they're having issues finding workers because not everyone that is undocumented and don't have one of these, they're not just the color of my skin and they just don't have black hair. They come with many different flavors. There's a lot of people, different nationality. So I'm just asking y'all to please think this forward, just with this plastic card. It's not just, I mean, this is a blessing to all of us. And I'm glad I have this because as a community leader, I would not be going places like Flint,
places like Battle Creek, Hart, Michigan, or all over the city, that I do join and work with y'all as a volunteer. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
My name is Zachary Laster. I live in the city of Kalamazoo, despite what some troll posts on Facebook. I'm going to be brief about this. I know what it's like not to have a driver's license. When I went through school, they told me I probably shouldn't get a driver's license. I went ahead and just did it on my own. And now I make my living. I'm getting off disability and driving around for a living, making money. Probably driven more than most people in this room combined in the last year. And I don't see a problem with allowing these people to have a driver's license. There's no problem with it. I don't think it's an issue. I don't understand why we haven't done it already. And it bothers me that, because I know what it's like to not have that sense of independence and being able to take care of yourself and being able to take care of your family, and that people are being denied that just based on where they are born is ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Nehemiah Scudder. I live in Kalamazoo. In fact, I live in the central city, which has zip code 49007. And I contact many of the people here tonight in the sense of meeting them on the street. I foresee a few problems with this whole issue. Suppose the police pull over a car, and that happens lots of times for stop signs. Maybe running a red light inadvertently, some little thing, and the policeman walks up to the driver, and he faces 2 or 3 paragraphs of Spanish. Well, what's the policeman going to do? Most of our police officers don't know Spanish. Well, maybe we can require some basic English courses for drivers. I don't know. But it strikes me that immigrants are not just from Mexico or other Central American countries, so-called, but we have people from Arabic countries because of the Taliban fighting them over there. We have other immigrants. The police cannot learn all the possible languages in the world in order to stop someone for running a stop sign. So it seems to me the reasonable course of action is to require a fairly comprehensive test of basic English along with the requirements for getting a driver's license. That way the police can communicate in English with the driver of a car when he presents his driver's license, or she presents her driver's license, and maybe it will work better. But to just give someone the driver's license who doesn't know English is asking for disaster, it seems to me. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address the commission tonight? Seeing no one, we are now at commissioner comments. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Hey, I just have I guess I'll use this time here just to pose a question related to good folks who came tonight asking us to make a decision on this resolution. Just to our city attorney, or just what common practice is, if we did desire to put this resolution on our agenda for our next meeting, would we need to take a vote to do that, or can we just sort of have a general agreement? Would it have to be a formal process?
It can be by an informal process if there's a general consensus on the part of the commission that they'd like to see this in 2 weeks. But you can do it formally as well, but you don't necessarily have to.
Okay, well, I would be in support of that, and I guess other folks can comment when they have their opportunity to not make it too formal. So that said, I just wanted to recognize a couple things that have happened over this past week, which I had the good fortune to attend. There was a celebration over at Douglas Community Association this past weekend, recognizing 100 years of service in this community. Pretty amazing when you think about it. And it was a beautiful, hot day, just like today is, and the ice cream melted very, very quickly. But there was a lot of folks in attendance, great picnic, good community folks there. And one thing that I am very, very excited about, which I am hoping that the word really gets out, is that our community credit union, which was a community-based function specifically created to help people find affordable banking and loan services and to charge fair interest rates, which started in Washington Square, is now going to be opening up an office in the Douglas Community Association, which I think is a huge step. I think it's great. And the week before, we also recognized a groundbreaking person here in Kalamazoo, and that's Alma Powell, who has a branch of the library named after her. A person who, I also had the opportunity to go to that. It was at the Douglas as well and read a city resolution. But a person after person has discussed how she changed the course of their life. And how one person who has a commitment and a set of values, and hers happen to be deeply engaged with the idea of education and reading, and the way that one person in the world can have a huge effect on the trajectory in your life. And it reminds me that at any time, any one of us can be that person for somebody else, and how important that is.
Thank you. Commissioner Cooney?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Ms. Vice Mayor.
Happens.
Thank you so much for coming down here tonight. It's an amazing show of strength and solidarity. And thank you for giving us an opportunity to take a practical step to stand with you. All of us see the atrocities that are being committed at the border, but you remind us that it's not just at the border, that it's right here in our community and throughout this country, where families are being broken up and young people go to school not knowing if their parents are going to be there at night. It is totally abominable that that is happening in our country, and we have to do everything we can to change it. And thank you for giving us a very practical thing that we can do tonight, and that is restore your ability, the ability of people who are undocumented to get licenses. And I'm sure that we're very much in support of that. So you want it to be, we could do it tonight, but you want it to be the next time, and I think that's great. I'm sure that we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, and I'm sure that we're going to be right with you in the struggle. So, la lucha sigue, hasta la victoria siempre.
Commissioner Griffin?
Well, yeah, I second the comments that Commissioner Cooney made. I want to first thank you all for coming out here and creating a resolution. I think sometimes people feel that it has to take someone from the outside to create your voice, and that's just not true. And you've done that together. The people closest to the problem or the closest to the solution or closest to the issue, and so it's only right that it came from this community. So let me start off by saying, yes, I'm in support of adding that to the agenda for the next meeting. And then switching directions, a few weeks ago, well, actually all the days are kind of running in together. So when we had the flooding, the city of Kalamazoo, they made a post about the flooding and the different roads that were shut down. I myself saw that post first thing in the morning, and I shared it. A few hours later, I was notified on Facebook that this post was not in Spanish. And I had to do some self-checking because I myself am not Spanish speaking. And I forwarded that message without thought of those who don't speak English who are needing to know this message. And immediately, I contacted the mayor, and some things were done, and within 20 minutes, that post was changed in Spanish. And so I appreciate the city taking the fast action on that, but it just reminded me how those little things, such as language, how important that is, and how we have to stay in constant contact with community. So the city is going to be trying to work on some ways to make sure that the communications that come out are done in not just English and Spanish, but are accessible to those who don't just speak English, so that all of us in the community can all be aware of all of the things that are happening.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yeah, I stand in agreement with my colleagues. I think this is always, I know for me, we always have to learn, we always have to grow. This is the 2008 legislation I wasn't familiar with, and it's interesting because that was kind of a time where I dug deep into legislation on the state level. So, that just goes to show, it takes a community to address these issues, period, no questions asked. And although we have good intentions, we may not always have the time and the ability, so we need other individuals to come out and support. And it was intriguing to see a couple colleagues out in the audience today, and some who actually came up to speak that we haven't had an opportunity to hear from in a while. But I thank all of you for being in attendance, bringing a very important issue to light. And I repeat this consistently because when I ran my campaign in 2017, I think we all can acknowledge some of the frustrations on a national level when it comes to undocumented individuals, or just it's just been a really interesting time since our new president. But when I walked door to door and dealt with a fear that my imagination only could conjure up to my ancestors who were enslaved, when I saw that type of fear in my community, I think there needs to be an action item behind it. So I encourage all of those who are here today. This is not the end. This is not this isn't the win. But these are the steps and the action items to work together continuously to protect everyone who lives within our community. And on that note, I wanted to also address the Asylum Lake. That was a rough situation. I read the news article, and these are the type of things that we have to figure out what that looks like on how to protect our environment. And another thing I wanted to highlight was this weekend had a lot of violence reported. Unfortunately, I was not in town, but I was definitely getting the firsthand updated news as it came along. And so I say to our city staff and to my colleagues, again, this isn't something we can police away. These are the type of things that we need the community to actively engage and find ways to become leaders, become activists, to become engaged, to each one teach one. So I want to encourage our community to continuously engage, find ways to make us better, make us grow. It's not always easy. It's always redundant. Some of the things that we deal with now, we've been dealing with for 10 or 15 years, to 100 to 200 years, since the dawn of man. So stay encouraged, stay motivated, and let's continue to work together.
Thank you, Commissioner. So, City Manager and Mr. Clerk, I think that you have 5 people saying that we want to see this on the agenda next
Yes, it'll be
in
on
2
the
weeks.
agenda.
Excellent. I won't be here, but I want to just say a couple things. Nellie, if you have a few minutes after the meeting, I'd love to talk to you, because it's not clear to me if this is a legislative fix or if you're asking for executive action. And the gentleman that spoke just a few minutes ago, he questioned why Michigan is not one of the leading states. And I think that there are some of us in the room that know for the last decade or so there's been various levels of conservative ideology and a grip on the legislature and the various executive branches. It's true we have a sympathetic governor as well as a Secretary of State, so I think this is a excellent next step, and I'd love to talk to you about your strategy and how I might be able to open a couple of doors for you. So with that, we are adjourned.